Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Kickin' Show. I'm Jerry Jordan, show's host. We got Christian Coley, our ARCA extraordinaire reporter, fresh off a cruise, apparently, from what I saw on his Facebook and Instagram. Seth Eggert going to ride out another snowstorm this weekend, I think, in Charlotte.
Only rain.
Only rain, okay.
Only rain they're calling for.
Zach, what about you? Didn't y'all just get like 27 feet up there in Pennsylvania? Wait,
not quite 27 feet, maybe like half a foot.
You're not in Pennsylvania.
I'm not.
You're in New Jersey.
I'm in New Jersey. I'm debuting my new background here.
I
was gonna say I want to see more of that photo that's just above your, I think your right shoulder.
Yeah, I shot this in 2018
at Daytona.
Yeah, and that's Grant Enfinger. He's just about to spin out, and he clips the apron and showers Dalton Sargent with sparks. That's one of my favorite photos. But yeah,
did you win an award for that photo?
I did not. No, MPA. Look the other way. But anyways, we didn't get any snow here. Not these last few days, but it's foggy as crap out there. I could barely see anything when I drove home.
It was foggy here this morning in Texas, and I used it as an excuse to be late to go into the office. So, I mean, I don't have a boss that I actually work for because I own Kicking the Tires and I own the marketing company. But the gold company that I do the marketing for kind of expects me to be there around 8:30-ish, 8:45-ish. Definitely before 9 o'clock. I was about 9:05 this morning. So, but yeah, yesterday though, in my defense, yesterday we moved offices and I worked like a crazy person all day long, moving furniture, and they're combining, and we've got this huge complex that we work out of, and they decided to move my office and the whole marketing team over to another office. It's actually kind of a little nicer area of the complex, and it's definitely got better parking, and so I worked like crazy all day yesterday, so I was kind of tired. But yeah, that was my excuse, was the fog for going to being late to work this morning, late to the office. What about you guys? What's happening in the world? Let's just go ahead and get out of the way. Christian, you were on a cruise. Now you're getting ready to cover the ARCA series, and we've got a big race coming up at New Smyrna. 2.5 weeks from now?
Actually, it's on Monday, I believe. No, it is not on Monday.
It's the next Monday.
A week from Monday.
Yeah.
Monday. Because I keep thinking the Super Bowl is this week, because I kept thinking the Clash was on the same weekend for some reason.
No, the Clash is a week before the Super Bowl, and we'll get to the Clash in a minute. But everyone is really excited about the Clash, and honestly, the person I talked to earlier today, you hear that there's not a whole lot of buzz about the Super Bowl, but there is a lot of buzz about the Clash. But we'll get to that in a minute.
But no, kind of speaking on the ARCA race coming, the ARCA Menard Series East returns on next Monday, and they're going to be racing in New Smyrna. There's not very much details that I can share right now. We don't really know much going into this East Series, but we do have the ARCA Menard Series coming up pretty soon, and we've got a pretty good, solid, stout field. So far, we have 6 total drivers going to be running the full season. At least they've declared it. But we have 6 drivers that are going to be running for the championship, and I think we really have a stout lineup going into the year.
You've got a couple of the girls are going to run in the I guess Venturini. Of course, Venturini has like 200 cars in the ARCA Menard series, so I think they have the whole field and then some. But seriously, how is their organization stacking up against the Willie Mullenses and the other guys? When you're looking at the breakdown of the ARCA Menards.
So it's kind of weird this season because Venturini has only got 1 full-time car compared to normally having a good amount. 1 full-time car with
Tony Bringer
in the car, and so she's the only representative from Venturini that'll be running a full-time deal, which is really surprising, especially with Corey Heim not moving up to full-time trucks. But Corey and Jesse Love will share a seat, and I don't know, it just kind of weirded me out. But Tony is the only representative for Venturini that'll be running full time. But at Daytona, it really isn't about who's going to be running full time. It's just about who's going to get the win. And so the big thing we've got is Willie Mullins is going to be running 2 cars instead of just 1. He'll be putting him in 1, and then Brayton Laster will run one of the other cars, the 03, in a kind of a partnership deal with Club Motorsports in order to get the 03 some track time and some points out there, just so they can come in later in the season and have a little bit better point standings as we go into the season. But other than that, Joe Gibbs Racing still has not announced their full plans. Drew Dollar tested with the organization at Daytona, but there hasn't been very much talks about Drew running for Joe Gibbs. So we're not entirely sure of what the situation will be. We haven't heard from Ty Gibbs since last year, so we really don't know what his plans will be. We do know he probably will not be running full time in ARCA, but we know Sammy Smith will be running majority of it, but he's not old enough yet. So he's going to have somebody that has to run some of the races just to make sure that the car gets a full season.
That's
So other
interesting.
than that, there's not much else going on in the ARCA world. It's been pretty quiet.
I was going to say, I know Ty's going to be stepping up to Xfinity Series, and we were waiting out actually on more of his information. JGR hasn't sent that out yet, so I guess they're still working on some deals and trying to do some scheduling. And Zach, we did have some new information on a new team this week, one we kind of heard of before, and I know you're following that. What happened with Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah, it was pretty long awaiting. I mean, as you said, we've been hearing about it for a couple of years. I think it was March of 2020, right as the pandemic was starting. We started kind of hearing about it. They started making social media accounts and posting little teasers, and I've been hearing the name Floyd Mayweather come up quite a lot in the Money Team Racing. And finally, here in early 2022, they were finally able to get the partners and everything, get the car, get the driver, get all the sponsorship all laid out to finally tell us what they're planning for this year. And right now it's the Daytona 500, and they're going to have Kaz Grala, who's a really talented driver. I mean, we've seen him become kind of like he's been everywhere. I feel like in like every series, lots of different teams, and he's shown that he can not only get it done in any type of equipment, but especially at Daytona. You know, he's won there in the Truck Series, and he ran the 500 last year, didn't get a good result. He had some mechanical issues with Colleague Racing, but I think he's a really good driver to get into that car, and we're going to see how they perform. I mean, they don't have a charter going into the 500, so they're going to have to race their way in or qualify on time. With Kaz's experience, I mean, it could go either way. I feel pretty good that they'll be fine, but I mean, we've seen drivers with experience like Daniel Suarez a couple of years ago with Gaunt, who missed the race because of an accident. You know, just anything can happen. And for a new team like this, you would hope that they can make it and get that funding. And, you know, we're hearing that they can run, you know, possibly up to, 10 to 15 races, which is nearing half a schedule. And if you miss the 500 to start the year, I mean, that can set you back a foot that they don't really need. So really exciting to hear, just to see a name, another legendary type of name like Floyd Mayweather start to kind of eat into this ownership type of role. We've seen Michael Jordan, we've seen Emmett Smith, Pitbull, like all these new names who have nothing to do with racing, but now they're starting to get into ownership, and that's a really big deal, especially since a lot of the owners that we've known for decades, they're getting older. They're getting into their 70s, some of them are getting into their 80s, and of course people are going to be following in step and taking over, but you're always wondering who's coming in, who's new. And we got GMS Racing who's starting in Cup, and like all these new guys. So it's just cool to see this type of movement and to get fresh blood into the sport.
You know why they're coming into the sport? Because the charters are actually worth money and have benefited the owners and give them something similar to a franchise like football has, and they actually have a tangible item that they can, sell or borrow money from and things like that. The reason I know that is because, when BK Racing went under, a lot of people didn't know that BK had put their charter up for money at the bank as on a loan. Now, they didn't spend their money right, apparently, and they went bankrupt. But that charter was worth money, and that's the first time that anybody could actually look at and say, "Wow, that's money that we can get for operations that isn't a car, it isn't a building, it's the right to race and to get points and to get a check in NASCAR. So that's when I realized that the charters were actually a good thing for NASCAR, despite all the naysayers out there that we constantly hear from. Seth, I mean, you follow the sport and know the stats more than anyone. What are your thoughts when it comes to these charters and to see these new guys coming into the sport?
It's definitely a benefit. I mean, without the charters, I don't think we would have Pitbull and Justin Marks owning the team. Granted, Justin Marks might own the team because he was looking into buying one and looking into creating one because of the next gen car. But without the charters, I don't think Trackhouse would be what it is today. 2311, I don't know if Michael Jordan would have come in with the charters, or without the charters, I should say. So it really is a question, would we have the ownership and would we even have the teams without the charters? Aside, I do also want to mention real quick about Money Team Racing. Zach, you said 2020. I remember being in the media center 2019 at Martinsville when the first rumors started popping up on it. And just a small fun fact, Jerry, as you said, I know the stats quite well. The Pro Invitational race at Homestead in 2020, the first Pro Invitational that was on TV, Jeffrey Earnhardt was entered, and his entry was listed as being for the Money Team Racing.
There you go. If anybody would know, you would know, especially when it comes to NASCAR and iRacing. So, I mean, you definitely have me beat in that, not only in the driving aspect of it that we've so well know that I can't drive in iRacing, but I'm in my sim, by the way. Now I'll point that out. I have a great setup. Go ahead.
I will say I know Christian mentioned this before the show, the paint scheme. This number 50 car. I mean, we've been seeing some fantastic paint schemes come out these last few weeks. Just today, Joey Logano, for the first time in a very long time, we're seeing a new scheme for the Shell Pennzoil Ford. I think it looks absolutely remarkable. Keselowski's car, tremendous. This car doesn't look that good to me. I know Seth, you mentioned Travis Pastrana back in 2013. Absolutely. It's a provocative scheme for a provocative type of team. It's called the Money Team Racing. So they're clearly going for, hey, look at us. And Pit Viper, if you've seen what that brand looks like, it's what's up. I'm here for the party, you know? So it fits that 100%, but that doesn't mean I can say that it looks good.
Hey, look, hold on. If you've seen the cars that I paint up for iRacing, if you can't drive well, or you don't have a car, because Kaz Grala can drive well, but if you don't have a car that can get to the front, you at least want people to look at you.
Exactly.
Okay. And
Marketing 101.
Exactly right. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how ostentatious the paint scheme is, because trust me, I put on my front bumper, hi to someone. So I told him hello.
I remember another message he also had on a car one time.
It got noticed, and it was talked about on TV. Yeah, on the
broadcast.
YouTube, on the podcast.
The broadcast. But I do also want to mention about paint schemes. I think it was Bozy who might have put it out there, but that for the throwback paint schemes, they all have to have the number forward. So there's two cars that I know of that people will probably try to throw back to. One is the fabulous Hudson Hornet, because they had the number forward. And the other is a Fireball Roberts convertible series car, which was number 22. So that works for the Logano, at least.
It's interesting that you say Bozy put that out there, because on the call last week was with Steve O'Donnell, and
I think it was Bozy.
Well, I've been saying we didn't get that definitive answer. So that was maybe something changed.
Either that, or he may have heard from one of the painters that he's friendly with on Racing Space.
Very, very possible. I mean, Bozy knows his stuff. So, and if you want to interact with Bozy, he's got a Racing Spaces on Twitter.
On Tuesday nights,
live podcast. So and they do it other times too. Sometimes they just decide to, hey, we're going to go live. Up. Kind of what we need to do every once in a while. Shake things up and just go live.
Yeah, and
I like going live.
Yeah, and earlier today, which takes Wednesday. On Wednesdays, Mark Urban, who is a photographer, hosts Motorsport Creatives on Twitter Spaces.
Okay. Why don't we do a Twitter Space thing sometime?
I've talked to Justin about it. I think he might know more about it than I do.
Who? Who's
Justin?
Justin. Who's that?
The guy who usually hosts the podcast.
Well, I haven't seen him in a while. I'm wondering what happened to him.
Maybe a moving truck happened to him.
There hasn't been a moving truck moved to go to his house yet.
I said
fly to
happened
LA
to him.
tomorrow. Okay, wait.
I said happened to him. I didn't say it started moving.
I fly to LA tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to drive by his house and see if this move is really happening. Okay, because he hadn't been on the podcast in 3 weeks. I do podcasts from parking lots and Honda dealerships. And he can't get on his phone. Come on.
And hotels, bars.
Zach and I did one in the parking lot of the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
So I think he's just looking for an excuse. He doesn't love us anymore.
Maybe.
Might have to cut off his paycheck.
Speaking of paychecks, guess who actually made some money on iRacing this past weekend?
I heard he made some money on iRacing.
Granted, it's only $25, but still.
Hey, and it was a race that somehow I was responsible for you racing in.
Yes, it was the Maconi Setup Shop, the final showdown, presented by the Sim Racer movie.
Okay.
It was essentially their send-off for the current version of Atlanta that's on there on iRacing, because when the update comes, I think later this month or next month, because in the Coke series they're going to use the new version in Atlanta. The old one is going to be retired. At least that's what Steve Myers told me when I interviewed him back in December.
Okay.
So this was their send-off. Hey, we love this track. Let's race there for 325 laps.
And you came in 15th.
After getting stuffed in the wall 100 feet after
I don't want to hear about all that. Nobody cares about all that. You got time for that. You came in 15th out of 30th. Out of 30th.
From 30th out of 36 that started the race.
Yeah. From 30th to 15th.
It's
better than I would have done.
On the lap.
It's better than I would have done. You made money.
Yep. And then in Monday Night Racing, I got wrecked, but at the same time, I did a complete 360 and kept going in the right direction.
Did Colin Fern hit you?
This time it was Case Collenbach.
Okay. Because I reached out to Colin.
Yeah, I saw that.
And asked him not to wreck the Kick in the Tires car anymore.
And he said he usually doesn't see me. I'm like, yeah, because you're usually aiming for somebody else.
Yeah. So Colin is on notice that he cannot wreck the Kick in the Tires car.
But,
I will say this real quick before you go. Speaking of Colin, why did he post a Colin Fern 86 hat with a race car in the background today?
Because, well, the 86 is the number he uses in Monday Night Racing, and he's in the Championship 4 in Monday Night Racing.
Right.
So,
but it was in the BMS shop.
Yeah, he drives the BMS colors in Monday Night Racing.
Okay, so, but was he alluding to anything? Is he gonna?
That I don't know.
Are they gonna put him in a car, in a real car?
Am I allowed to say? I hope not.
Oh, see, I set that up perfectly for you.
But Ryan Vargas won, and he had to win to transfer to the Championship 4.
Okay.
He won because coming to the line, Garrett Smithley and Adam Cabot wrecked, taking James Pickford, David Schoenhaus, Kyle Busch, Colin Fern, and the rest of the field with them.
And I will tell you this, speaking of Ryan, he just got another sponsor today.
Yeah, Swan Security is re-upping with them.
For like a 2-year deal. And also going to have some goodies for fans. So that's kind of cool.
And also another league that we helped Ryan in last year, FTF for the Fans Racing League. They had their Daytona 500 Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And hope I don't butcher the name, but Cosmin Ionescu won the race in a photo finish, leading only the final lap.
The only one that counts.
And I feel bad for Justin because, to quote him, he now has to send the trophy to Narnia. Cosman, if I remember correctly, lives either in Croatia or Serbia.
Okay.
So have fun with shipping the trophy, Justin.
Yeah, I think that I might have to work something out, because that would be kind of difficult to do. Now, when do we have a race coming up? When do we have? They sucked me into a couple of them before the final playoffs.
Well, the NASCAR Clash was last night, but our race that we're sponsoring, I think the first one we sponsor is 2 months away.
Okay.
But the NASCAR Clash was last night. Casey Kerwin won for XSET Gaming, driving the number 95, which he changed to 95 because of Lightning McQueen.
Of course.
He's a big Cards fan. Well, here's the thing. He's partnered with Anthony Alfredo. But he can't run the 23 because 2311 Racing already has it. He can't run his personal number to 14 because Clint Boyer Racing already has it. So he went with Lightning McQueen.
Okay. Everybody's got to go with something. Would like to talk about, obviously, this weekend coming up with the Clash. I'm hearing great things. I showed you guys a screenshot earlier of how many seats are left, and there's a whole lot more seats sold than there are left in this deal. And I've been told that by the time this show airs, the numbers will have reached greater than the last USC UCLA game in attendance. So I know that's a pandemic thing and all that, but there's it's going to be very interesting to see the number of people, because I talked to Joe Furin today, and he is the manager of the Coliseum, and I'm going to meet with him on Friday when they're doing some tours out there. But I talked with him on the phone tonight. I'll have that story up first thing in the morning. And yeah, I'm going to be writing all night, guys, while I'm packing, just so you all know. I plan on sleeping on the airplane tomorrow night. But man, everybody and their brother is wanting to come to this race out in LA. He said there's a bunch of celebrities that have reached out. There's a bunch of politicians that have reached out. And it is the buzz of the LA community about NASCAR racing inside the Coliseum. 4,800 events they've had in the past 100 years at the Coliseum. None of them have been NASCAR. Now, they've done the Mickey Thompson Off-Road Truck Series where they filled it with dirt, but ain't never done NASCAR.
They've also done Stadium Super Trucks where they filled it with dirt.
Sure.
And the X Games when they had both Rally Car and Rally Cross.
Right. But an asphalt track with safer barriers that were barred from Fontana and Laguna,
Long Beach.
Long Beach. And then to have the asphalt, have all those cars, the horsepower, the rumble. Apparently you can feel the rumble through the concrete. So this is going to be big. And do what?
It is 100%. And I just feel like it's perfect timing, with everything. I feel like it's a great way to start the season. We're very much used to it being in Daytona every year, but to go into a new market and to see so many people who are seeing NASCAR for the first time, I can't imagine a better time with a new track and a new car that's never been raced before. It's been, it's been on track a lot, but never competitively. And quarter miles they're tough. I mean, when I tested for an ARCA team back in 2017, it was on a quarter mile track in Meridian Speedway out in Idaho. And I mean, that's a different track. It was very old. It's been around since like the 60s or 70s, whatever. This is brand new. But for these drivers, it's going to be difficult because I remember you'll come off a corner, and if you get a bad exit, your entrance to the next corner is screwed. And literally, if you make a mistake on one end of the track, it impacts the next end. So you make one mistake, the whole lap is screwed. And for a lot of these guys, they haven't driven on quarter miles in a long time, especially not in cars like this with this amount of power. And it's going to be something new for everybody. I mean, they're so used to half miles, it's going to be an adjustment. And no straightaways, really. You know, you look at the straightaways and they're kind of curved, kind of like the backstretch of Chicagoland, if you remember how that was curved, and kind of leads to these tighter, more narrow corners. It's going to be wild. It's going to be difficult, but it's a perfect type of setup, as I said, with the fans that are going to be there, the new car, a whole new track that you literally can't stay out of the way from each other, loads of heat races and LCQs, and then that last big 150 lap race is just going to be, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
By the way, cautions don't count. Christian, in the ARCA side of things, do we have a track that they might race that would be similar to what they built here at the Coliseum?
You know, we have Elko, we have Berlin might be one I could really kind of think about. I don't really know the dimension, size, or length of the tracks that we race at. The E Series did used to race at Bowman Gray. Now that they've used Bowman Gray as a lot of comparison for this track. So
didn't
I believe
these series also run the Legends Oval at Charlotte Moore Speedway once?
I cannot remember. I didn't really follow the E Series a long time ago, but the Bowman Gray is about the track that I can really think back to, and I think that's a track that a lot of people are comparing this one to. Kind of thinking back on that, Bowman Gray has been where they did the test with the broadcasters, so that, you know, the Clint Boyer has a little bit more experience in what he's going to be calling, I feel like, on Sunday, and I really feel like that'll help because he'll kind of know what to expect from the driver's side. But kind of talking about ARCA, we do race a lot of small tracks, so it's not really something new for NASCAR or stock cars, but something to this level of specialness, I don't think we've seen this in a long time. And kind of like I've been thinking about this week, I kind of compare the start of this season to the 2020 season when we had all of that build up with Donald Trump being at the Daytona 500 and just everything. I really feel like we're going in this year. I feel like this year is going to be a big year.
I agree. And, you know, it's not new news, so to speak, but, you know, and I joke about it from time to time. And I got roasted on Twitter last year because of it, but gambling in NASCAR is a thing. Okay. And, you know, NASCAR has its own gambling division that they work with sports books. They have a deal with DraftKings. They have a deal with BetMGM. They have a deal with Pinnacle Sports, and then they have I forgot the Fubo, I think, or
FanDuel.
No, it's okay. It's FUBO or something. It's
Fubo.
Yeah, and so they have partnerships with all these sports books, and it's going to be a really big deal going forward. Some of the stuff that we're hearing, and I was privy to a conversation and a call earlier this week, and it is betting on matchups. So you've been able, last year for the Daytona 500, I bet on a bunch of, I bet on a bunch of long shots, value plays, as you call them in gambling. And Michael McDowell won, Christopher Bell won the following week. Those things that I was kind of betting on, I was doing it through Sportsbook AG. It's an online betting platform, but now it's in casinos. And with the opening up of sports gaming and betting across the country in different states and new laws allowing that to happen, NASCAR had to embrace it. You're going to see matchups between like Kevin Harvick and Kyle Larson. You're going to see matchups between Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin. Who runs faster? Who runs better? Who finishes ahead? They had a little bit of that, but this is going to be a bigger thing. They're also going to talk about, parlays where you can bet on Harvick to beat Logano and partner that bet with a Hamlin to beat Kyle Busch. and make it a 2-team parlay for those that don't know much about sports betting. And then that would pay you 5-to-1 odds rather than just straight 1-to-1 odds. So if you win both bets, you get paid 5-to-1 on your money. Actually, you might get paid 3-to-1 on your money. True odds are 5-to-1. You're getting on the 2-team parlay, you're going to get 3-to-1. So you'll get 3-to-1 odds on your money if you hit both bets. Okay. But if you lose one, you lose everything. So you got to hit them. You got to hit them both. But you can do pushes and teasers, and all of this is going to be broken out, as NASCAR kind of lays out their gambling platform and talks about, moving on with these partnerships with these sports books and gaming organizations. That said, kicking the tires, we'll be joining a sports betting organization to promote the site and to promote picks for what might be the best value bets of a race. And it's going to be a column that I'm going to write every week. So it's supposed to start sometime around the Daytona 500. I'm hoping I can get everything in place and the contract signed. But we won't be the only one, because there's a couple other sites that are doing this, but they approached us, and they wanted to partner with us, and it's something that I was working on in the background, and it's taken up a little bit of time, but I think it's something that will resonate with fans who, especially if they're fans of football or baseball or basketball and they're already doing some sports betting, they'll be able to use the information we have to make those types of bets, and then look at whether or not we're giving them good information, because this organization will rank us with other sports analysts and give us some credibility as far as our picks or my picks or whoever we decide to get to work with us. So I thought it was something that I wanted to announce tonight, that we were going to be doing more of this, and it'll be, like I said, a column that I'll have to come out with. It's probably going to have to come out like the day before the race, maybe 2 days before the race, kind of like fantasy football does. If you ever try to go online and get information on fantasy football, you can get that information for who the best quarterback or who the best wide receiver or your best tight end or who, throughout the weekend, and the best matchup. So that's it's going to be similar to that. Then we'll have that, but also we will have full coverage, by the way, for the Daytona 500. Seth, you're coming down there, my understanding. The rest of the team will, obviously, you guys will be not there, but maybe hoping, coverage from the house, giving us updates and information that we need to know. And if y'all see something, you can always write about it, but we will be letting people know through social media. All of our social media channels will be up that and available to the staff, as they usually always are, to post and to do whatever you guys want. So big deal with Daytona 500. I want to kick it off strong this year and solidify our coverage over our own competition in the media world, and keep doing that. And also, each one of us each week focus on some things that we can cover, not just limit us to certain niches like ARCA or esports, but do what you love, and then you won't, we won't have to worry about having content over everybody else, because if you love to write about it, then you're going to want to do it. That said, it's time for picks for the Clash this weekend, and I'm not sure who's supposed to go first. Seth?
Well, the way I plan on doing it for once we get to the 500 is, last year we were picking, if you were last in points, you go first. Well, for the first picks of the year, there are no points yet. So what I figured is reward the winners of the points last year and go in order: first, second, third, and so on.
Okay, Rachel's not on the show tonight.
She didn't win, though.
Who won?
I did.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. I thought Rachel won.
She won trucks.
Okay.
So as far as those of us that are on the show, it would be me, you, Zach, and then Christian.
Okay.
So I'm picking Kyle Larson.
He's the only one who's confirmed in the race.
Yeah. Is he going to race?
Well, I was going to say it's the 36 charted teams, right?
You're not going with a long shot, are you there?
No, I'm not.
I know Kyle's going to race because he's on the schedules to be interviewed on Saturday.
And also, since this is an exhibition race, we can overlap picks.
Okay. We can overlap picks?
Yes.
I'm not going to pick who you picked. I like Larson, but I've got to go with the man with a new paint scheme. Super bright yellow, Joey Logano. You like that pick, huh, Zach?
I love it, dude.
and Zach, it's your turn.
Well, Joey was one of my picks I got written down here, but the other one is Mont Truex Jr. He's been one of the best short track racers. It took him a long time to get a win there, but he's been dominating Richmond. He's been dominating Martinsville. So this track is different, but I think he's going to still bring that same flair into LA.
Christian, it's your turn. Who's your pick?
So today I've been kind of looking at I had a Facebook post today to talk about the previous winners of the Clash. And yes, I'm going back for previous just by statistical, but not that type of statistical. The last time that Toyota went back-to-back in the Clash, a Ford won the next year. And so with my pick, I'm choosing the new guy in the new room. And that is Brad Keselowski in the number 6.
Okay. I can see where that would be a good pick. I'm curious as to how long it's going to take for Roush Fenway to get their legs underneath them. Roush Fenway, Keselowski, RFK, to get their legs underneath them, so to speak, and see how fast their cars are. But you don't necessarily have to be real fast on that quarter-mile track. You just have to stay out of trouble and be smart. Now, here's where there comes in a problem. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. Brad and Joey are no longer teammates. There may be some pent-up frustration there. Just saying.
I don't know. I feel like Ford kind of gets pretty close to each other, at least at Daytona. Now they've had issues at Daytona, of course. But before then, they were helping each other out tremendously. And I think Ford's still they're still Ford teammates, which is something. It's not like it's a different manufacturer. But
Seth, your thought?
I don't know if they would do it right now with the granted. I know we were talking before the show. There is and isn't an issue with the number of next-gen cars that some teams have.
I was told by Steve O'Donnell this week that is not an issue.
Yeah.
I don't care what the fans on Twitter have said or the people on Facebook. I was told that the teams that wanted 5 cars have 5 cars. The teams that wanted 3 have 3. Now, if those teams that wanted 3 wreck out a couple before they get to California or something, and there's some in the NASCAR pipeline, then NASCAR will maybe need to move some stuff around if someone's going to get their 6th car or whatever, and they'll help a team out. NASCAR is going to do everything they can to make sure that these teams have the cars they need, and they're well aware of the supply line issues. So I just think sometimes fans like to bitch, and news media likes to stir up crap. Just saying.
So how about this?
I think the basis of most of all this storm cloud comes from Rodney Childers over in Stewart-Haas camp, because he was talking about yesterday that they're only taking 1 car to Daytona.
That's because they can. They could take more if they wanted to. They're also talking about letting teams double up on backup cars, where they'll have a wrap for, Alex Bowman, but have Kyle Larson's seat in the car.
Yeah, okay? And I know Front Row Motorsports have said, at least Drew Blickensurfer when he was there, this was last year, he said their plan was to have a common, as he worded it, backup in the trailer, which was unwrapped, and they would have both Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell's wraps ready in case they were needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is just a lot of it's, our colleagues stirring up trouble. A lot of it is teams talking to our colleagues, stirring up trouble. Okay. And getting on social media. And look, I love Rodney Childers to death, but I have a hard time believing that Stuart Haas is short on cars. I don't believe it.
I could see them being short on the number that they want.
Right.
I think another thing that also kind of adds on to that is the fact that they kind of started letting the rumbles out that there may not be a car in Daytona USA after the 500.
But might not be a what?
A car, the Daytona 500 winning car might not go to Daytona USA this year, which that could be because of the quote supply chain issues, as we're calling them. But the thing is also, since teams are only limited to 7 cars right now, max, and those cars are still being built, some only, like you said, have 5, some have 3, etc. I could see that tradition being skipped this year and then coming back next year.
But don't you think NASCAR could roll out one of those cars that they already have as a replacement? I mean, surely they're smart enough to have thought of that.
Because you want to keep the tradition going.
It wasn't asked on the call, but I mean, all they have to do is roll the car, from their garage over to whoever wins the Daytona 500 garage. Because
put a show car there, or just something just for people to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
old gen. Put an old gen car there with the paint scheme on it.
Why not? Yeah.
Go car hall of shame.
And still have like the trophy and like the checkered flag. I mean, like real stuff, but just not the real car.
I don't know. I think they'd put the real car there. I really do. I think what NASCAR would do, and I'll ask this question on Friday when I get out to the Clash. Okay, I'll ask, what if somebody wins the Daytona 500? Are y'all going to swap out cars with them so that they can leave their car? Because that's a historic tradition that goes back a long time. I remember the first time I ever went to Daytona, I saw, Michael Waltrip's car.
I think it started sometime in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, Dale Senior had that famous quote when he won in '98.
Yeah.
My car in Daytona USA. I don't care. I love it. So
yeah. So yeah. I think they'll figure. I think they're smart enough to figure it out. I really do.
That also be kind of like could that kind of be a, I don't know, a lure to win the Daytona 500? You win the 500, you get a brand new car to run at Talladega.
Woo.
Or technically wherever, because I know there's one team that said they're taking the Clash car to Daytona and then to Auto Club.
Yeah, I mean, it's all this. I mean, they're pretty much template cars now, so except for the engine and everything else.
Well, I think that would be kind of like a kicker. If you could win the 500, that's your reward. You get a new car, and we'll just take that car that you just ran 500 miles with. And these cars are going to run more than 500 miles because they've got practice and qualifying.
Yeah. So either way, it does. That's not for us to decide, and it's not for Twitter to decide. And you cannot imagine how frustrated I have been over this stuff with the Clash. That's why I reached out to Joe Furin at the Coliseum to ask him his thoughts on when they were building the track, when they came to him over 2 years ago, this concept of it. And I'm halfway through with my article, and it's like, if fans would just do their own research instead of just going with a rumor mill, how hard was it for me to pull up that Ticketmaster video, screen and show you where all the seats are left? Everybody's saying, "Oh, there's not 10,000 seats sold to that place." Bet there is. It just frustrates me when there's just a group of fans out there that want to stir up trouble because it's not like it was in 1974. It's not like it was in 1974. I was 3. I was skinny. I was skinny. Now I'm fat. Just okay. I'm not like that anymore. I don't like that. That's not fair.
I was gonna say they don't want to see races where third place is 9 laps down anymore.
Hey, just saying. There you go.
I want to see a 1975 car go around North Wilkesboro 6 billion times.
I know I make Zach nervous when I start talking about stuff like this, but that's okay.
I love it.
You love it.
It's great video.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week. I do want to say shout out to our buddies, Mike D's Barbecue Sauce. Throw some D's on it. This stuff is good, Seth. You know it. I need to send y'all. I need to make sure you guys get some barbecue sauce to get Mike to get this out to you guys. It's amazing. I actually did barbecue over the weekend just so I could use the sauce, because I was using something else. I was using a store-bought brand. And when they sent me this as part of this deal, where Mike D's is sponsoring, part of the podcast and on the site. If you use the KTT discount code, you get 25% off. I mean, what the heck? All of this aside, all of their sauce aside, I got to give them a shout out about their seasonings, because that's what's really, really, really amazing. And so check out their website, MikeD'sBarbecue.com, and that's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you next week as we get ready for the Daytona 500. Joey Logano in Victory Lane this weekend at the Clash.